And now on the next story that we'll share is Lakeisha Lee.
Greetings, everyone. I am Lakeisha Lee, artist, educator, and entrepreneur, and I help young women cultivate their uniqueness and consciously create the life they desire. So that actually came about, this is what my whole story is about self-value and declaring your self-worth and understanding what it means to love yourself. So I grew up in a educated household. My father holds a doctorate degree. My mother has several masters and other certificates. Excellence was the standard in the Lucas household. There was nothing other than excellence required, and that was all that was accepted. I'm the eldest of 4 children, so I was born a leader. I am the firstborn of 2 other leaders, and you know, that was a heavy responsibility for me, but it's something that I carried and I still carry today. I started off in elementary school. I was very studious, very likable by my teachers, which made me stand out, of course, amongst my classmates. I spent half of a school year in 1st grade and half of a school year in 2nd grade, so I was excelling early. I was excelling very early. I was very smart. I was aware that I was very smart. I won lots of awards at school. My name was always being called on stage. That was just me. I was the smart girl. But as I got older and I started hanging around more mature students, it appeared as though being smart and educated wasn't the thing to do. So I just became curious as to why nobody wanted to be smart. Like, why is being smart not the thing? Like, what's going on? What do you mean? Why do I speak this way? This is the way that you articulate these words. Yes, I did my homework. Like, what else are you supposed to do? So I want to say around the 5th grade, it really started to get to me, and I wanted to blend in with everybody else. I wanted to fit in with everybody else. I didn't want to be unique anymore. I didn't want to stand out, and I was just standing out more and more and more because I was excelling more. So fast forward to my 8th grade year, I took an entrance exam to enter into a prestigious all-girls high school in Buffalo, New York. That's where I'm from, initially, Buffalo, New York. And I got into the school, and the principal announced that I took the exam and I got into the school, and it was just mayhem. Like, everybody was talking about me, and, oh, Lakeisha's going to a private school, and I think I'm better than everybody else, and I really didn't. I was just being myself. I was just doing what I knew to do, which was to be the best that I could be. So graduation, moving forward, my father was offered a position at Howard University in administration, and the whole family moved from Buffalo to Upper Marlboro, Maryland. But I started high school in Buffalo, so I was able to ride the metro by myself. I had my little squad, you know, gang. We rode the metro. We had fun after school. We went to the store before school. You know, I was cool with my teachers. And then maybe like a month later, we left, and I came to Maryland. And everybody talks different. Everybody dressed differently. I mean, I'm from New York, so I was wearing like swishy sweatsuits, monochromatic head to toe, and people were just like, who is she and where is she from? Not knowing that my uniqueness was what made me me, and to settle in that uniqueness and carry it onward. I didn't know what to do with it, so I went inside a shell. Like, I literally turned into a turtle. And I think the only thing that saved me in high school was the fact that I was a part of JROTC. I just loved everything about it. So I stuck out everywhere. I did not stick out anywhere but in JROTC. So with trying to blend in came a lot of things. I stole from teachers. I was getting in trouble in class. I stopped doing my work. I wasn't necessarily acting out at home. I was more to myself because my parents I was raised in a household where they just wasn't having it. Obedience was required and necessary. So I would go to school and act out. And I had a girlfriend that lived in my neighborhood. We were best friends. And we decided, I actually had ran away previously before in Buffalo. I had gotten in trouble for chewing gum in class, and I didn't want to face the consequences, so I left. And they found me like a couple hours later. I was at the bus station. But so me and my best friend at the time, we decided to run away. And I ran away once before that, and then we ran away together. And it was just the experience of learning how to talk to different people and relate to different people. That's one of the positives that came out of my situation, because I'm just a people person. So we were just out in DC connecting with people, and we need somewhere to stay, and we need money to eat. And, you know, it taught me now that, one, a closed mouth doesn't get fed, and two, that we're all alike, we're all people, we all have needs, and we all connect in some way. So we're 15, 16, out on our own, just making things happen. Eventually, my best friend at the time, she met this gentleman who was at a hotel. We were staying at a hotel. Some guys had put us up in the hotel. And she said that she met this guy who said that he had a way for us to make some money and meet us at this location later on tonight. So we go to the location, and it's inside a hotel. And there are girls in the hotel room, and they're getting dressed. And the guy comes in, and he's like, well, I want to see how comfortable you all are changing around other females. So I just was like, okay. And she was like, okay, I'm not uncomfortable doing that. And we did that, and everybody was getting ready, not knowing that they were getting ready to go out on the street. So we got dressed, we got ready, they gave us clothes, and they were just talking to us like everything was regular, like, you know, girl talk, and we're just watching them get ready. And that night was the first night that I experienced being out on the street as a prostitute. And what they call the bottom B, the girl who is like over all the other girls, we were with her, and she gave us like a rundown of everything to do from A to Z. This is the type of people that you look for. This is what happens if you see the police. You need to come up with the alias. This is where you keep your money. This is what you do. This is how you do it. And that was the beginning of a 9-month experience with being involved in that lifestyle. After we didn't stay long with that particular pimp, because we were just, he had a gun and he showed it to us, and we got scared. So we were like, we need to escape. But we were like, escape where? Because we weren't going home. That was the ultimate goal, to not be home, because there was so much pressure there. So we ended up with another pimp. That pimp ended up taking us to Florida. Once we got to Florida, we were separated. She got snatched up by another pimp. I went with another pimp, and I actually was with that pimp for the majority of the time that I was involved with the lifestyle. And I can understand the bonding, because there was definitely a connection there with thinking that this person cares about me and they're going to protect me. Even though I spent a lot of time out on the street by myself, I was protecting myself. But as a 16-year-old young woman with no self-value or even understanding of what self is, you know, I had a clouded judgment. So with that pimp, like I said, I was in Florida, I was in Boston, I went to Atlantic City, New York City, and, you know, was just wrapped up in this lifestyle. And for me, because I was making money, and I was making a substantial amount of money, that gave me some sense of value in my twisted state of mind, not understanding what was actually transpiring. So for me, once the end for me was just being through so many traumatic experiences. I've been kidnapped by a man, and I had to fight him off, and then I was in God knows where, and I had to find a way back to where I was supposed to be. And, you know, I've talked my way out of situations with men and who wanted to do other things to me that I was not willing to do. And, you know, at a point towards that 9 months in, I heard this voice within me just say, "This is not your life." That was literally the sentence. And at that time, I had left the pimp that I was with, and I went to go stay with one of the other girls that had left. And I called my grandmother, and I told her, you know, because I had been missing. So, of course, she was excited to hear from me, and I told her, you know, I don't want to go home, but I want to come home. And I went back to Buffalo. My grandmother, my father's mother, currently still lives there, and I went back to Buffalo. And it took a while for me to, I hadn't even healed yet, but it took me a while to decompress and deconstruct and unspiral from the lifestyle, because when I got to Buffalo, you know, I'm still young. I was 18, I was cute, I had a shape, and I was like, oh, and I could get guys, and I don't have to work. And, you know, even I did get a job, though, because my grandmother also wasn't having that. She was like, you're going to get a job or you're going to go to school. So I was working, but still that mentality of money over everything, and just not even manipulation, but just, I feel like there is a power that allows you to do anything and create anything that you want to create, but it has to be for the greater good. So, you know, I was wrapped up in the lifestyle. I ended up dating a drug dealer who was under surveillance by the police, got arrested in Buffalo. My parents still had not known about this whole escapade of being out in the street. So I get arrested in Buffalo. I give them a fake alias because I didn't think that they were going to book me, because they weren't after me, they were after him. So I didn't want to call my grandparents. So I ended up staying overnight. And because I stayed overnight, that gave time for my record to come back. And when my record came back, they automatically contacted my parents. So I ended up in Buffalo City jail for 2 weeks. And my dad flew in from Upper Marlboro, and I stood before the court and the judge. And, you know, in the judge's mind, and that's why I'm glad that we're here to even have this discussion, because in his mind, I had to be on drugs, or, you know, I had to been taking something or doing something. And I'm standing in front of the judge like, I don't know, that's not it. That's not what happened. I wasn't on drugs. It was my mentality and not having any self-worth, and having that void being filled by other people and living this lifestyle just because there was a void. That's why I believe it's so important to cultivate our young women so they understand that you define who you are, and you determine who you are, and that you are valuable, whoever you are. So my father was there, and because he was there, and because my father is who he is, and poised and polished and decorated, once he got up, the judge, it kind of swayed his judgment. And they sat me down, and they went into the chambers with my dad, the judge, and the prosecutor, and they came back, and versus processing me as a criminal in criminal court, they put me in therapeutic counseling. So I was mandated to go to these classes and go to these meetings and whatnot, versus being sent to jail, which was interesting for me as an 18, 19-year-old, because I'm like, why am I going to why y'all taking me to drug counseling? I'm not on drugs. But finally, after being at several courses, one of the young women that was in one of the courses with me, she was like, you're not addicted to drugs, but you're addicted to the lifestyle. And that really helped me unravel the situation and move forward. Moving forward, I did get my GED, and I scored the highest in the state of New York at the time that I took it, going back to just who I am. And I was actually offered a scholarship by the #1 private school in the state of New York, Canisius College, and I didn't take it because I still was in the mindset of money over everything. But I did work. I did eventually move back to this area with my mom and the rest of my family. I started working, I was working fast food and retail until I was offered a position within the DC public charter school system as a teacher's assistant. And that's when the light bulb just went on. I was working with other young girls who were like myself, and I could just see the signs and the symbols, and I was just like, oh no, we can't have anybody else going down this route unnecessarily. So I started an after-school program called Pearls Couture Fashion Modeling and Etiquette. And you know, the fashion modeling and etiquette was to bring them in, but we did a lot of self-work. We talked about self-value and feelings and expressing your feelings and how to talk to your parents. And while I was at that school, I also revamped the Student of the Month program. So while I was there, the principal let me know that they wanted to move me into a more administrative position, but they couldn't because I didn't have a degree. I was like, oh, okay, bet. I'm just gonna go get my degree. So that's what I did. In May of last year, I graduated from Bowie State University with a Bachelor of Science in Child Psychology. So moving forward, my plan is to get my master's in school psychology and ultimately open up my own practice so I can have a more hands-on experience with dealing with youth who are like myself, who literally just needed to understand the importance of self. And that's where I am today. There's a lot more colorful things that happen in between there, but that is the core of I am and what I do. Thank you.